Thank you. And g'day. I'm Jon Bird, and for the last 3 years I've been living and working in New York, which is the home of Madison Avenue and also the home of Mad Men. And as you guys well know, the home of the maddest man of all right at the moment, which is Donald J. Trump, who is everywhere, including in the bargain bins. And I think a lot of us would kind of hope that he stays in the bargain bins. It's a really strange time to be in the States. The whole country, to my way of thinking anyway, has kind of been redesignated as the Museum of the Weird. It's just plain crazy. But for all that craziness, there is a lot to love, and there's a lot to learn as well. And I hope over the next 30 minutes I can pass some of that on, some of what I've experienced. So let me start by asking you a question.
Not like your parents or your grandparents. Then shops were somewhere you went. Today, shopping is something you do. Anywhere, anytime, all the time. We are evolved shoppers. Mobile warriors. In control, connected, demanding. We are Amazon Prime members, and our product searches start on Amazon. We shop via Alexa, Google, Siri, Facebook, and Pinterest. We still love stores, but they have to be experiential, not just transactional.
So that's the question. How do you shop? It's a question that's worth contemplating, because just as your shopping habits are changing, of course your customers' shopping habits are changing too. So a show of hands, who in the room is shopping more online than ever before? Yeah, pretty much conclusive. Who recently has taken one of these into a store, checked out the prices, and then bought elsewhere? Yep, guilty as charged. And who secretly actually can't wait for Amazon to arrive in Australia? Well, apart from the retailers in the room, I think, but there you go. So I'll tell you a story about how I shop. The US had kind of a late blast of winter. This was Central Park only a few days ago. And on St. Patrick's Day, about beer o'clock, St. Patrick's Day is really big in New York City. I got a hankering for a Guinness. But I didn't really want to go out in this weather. So I jumped on Food Kick, which is a brand new convenience grocery offer attached to Fresh Direct in the United States. I searched for Guinness on the app. I added a 6-pack to my cart, tossed in a few other items, some chips and stuff like that. And less than an hour later, I had a cold Guinness in my hand. Boom. I mean, that's how I love to shop, that's changing things dramatically. And no delivery fees, because I was on a 30-day free trial, which is basically a page out of the playbook for digital operators in the US, but also around the world. So new players like Food Kick, I think, can teach us a lot about actively engaging, converting, and keeping customers loyal in the midst of what is an absolute sea change for retail. And in Australia, we haven't seen anything yet. Where just last week, Sears, which was once the largest retailer in the world, said that there is substantial doubt that they'll be able to stay in business. I mean, that's just mind-blowing. And Mark Parker, the CEO of Nike, said just last week also that the US retail landscape is not in a steady state as sales rush from offline to online. So as a microcosm of what's going on, I wanted to give you a little bit of a snapshot into the last holiday season in the US. Physical retail sales over the Thanksgiving weekend were down 2 to 4%, depending upon how you calculate it. Meanwhile, online sales over that 5-day period from Thanksgiving to Cyber Monday were plus 15%. And on Black Friday, for the first time ever, online traffic was greater than traffic to physical stores, 110 million versus 99 million. So where once shoppers would line up outside stores the same way as they do here at Boxing Day, at 4 a.m. in the morning to wait for the store to open and grab one of those doorbuster specials, They're not doing so anymore. That doesn't mean to say that they're not shopping. In fact, people still shopped a lot, more than ever before. But as one analyst said, it wasn't so much Black Friday as Couch Friday. People were lying on their sofas after their Thanksgiving turkey, buying stuff on their mobile phones. On Black Friday, 55% of visits and 36% of sales were via mobile. And Amazon dominated. 40% of all e-commerce sales over the weekend were Amazon. They did $5 billion over what they called the Turkey 5, which is Thanksgiving Day through to Cyber Monday. So it's a microcosm. Let's kind of zoom out a little bit. This is my favourite chart of 2016. I love this chart. So this shows stock price growth from 2006 to 2016 of major American retailers, US retailers. As you can see, there's only two that had positive stock price growth. Amazon, plus 1,910%, and Walmart, to their credit, plus 2%. And Walmart's actually doing some really, really interesting things in all sorts of different areas in the US retail that we won't go into today necessarily. But as you can see, everyone else was negative, and negative to a very large extent. Look globally, and according to Brand Z, the most valuable global retail brand right now is Amazon, and number 2 are the brands under the Alibaba group. So that's the picture, and it's a pretty gloomy sort of picture. So what do we do about it? That's the question we all need to ask, because there will be survivors and there will be thrivers, and we all want to be amongst the survivors and thrivers and attract customers and then keep them. What we need to do is to think about two different kinds of journeys. The top journey is the traditional retail journey, the old journey from A to B, from traffic to transactions. Attract people into the store, convert them with a good deal, maybe sign them up to a loyalty program, rinse and repeat. You have a catalogue, line up exactly the same catalogue this time this year versus exactly the same time last year, because otherwise you have a calendar gap. You can't possibly have a calendar gap. That's kind of the end of retail. That's the top way of going. The bottom way of going is the new way of thinking, and that is a continuous, connected customer experience underpinned by data, and a journey that goes from online to offline and back again, with a series of magic moments in which you connect with customers along the way. And these days you have to win customers, not just once and hope that you're going to get them back in again, but time and time and time again. And the way you do it is via 3 E's. The first E is effectiveness. You've got to have an effective value proposition, and that value proposition better be more than just price alone. It's got to be price plus something else. It's not price off. The second E is ease, removing as much friction as you possibly can from every single interaction. That's what great retailers are doing. And the third is emotion, and emotion is how you make the customer feel. That is the output of a great experience, and I think the word experience is pretty much overused anyway. And running through everything with the great retailers these days is a digital thread. So in the midst of change, let me show you how some leading brands and retailers in the US are bringing to life connected customer experiences. I'm going to talk firstly to Ford, which is one I've had some personal experience in, and how they're responding to the changing way that we move. I'm going to talk to Amazon because I think it's important. I think living in a market with Amazon is totally different than looking on the outside looking in. I want to talk about how they're driving the changing way we shop. I want to talk to Starbucks and how they're leveraging the changing way that we pay, and a few different digital examples at the end which I think epitomise the changing way that we connect. So first, Ford. If we think retail is under tremendous change, have a look at the world of mobility. The way people move is changing right across the world. I mean, think of Uber, think of Lyft, think of self-driving cars which are on their way, think about hyperloops, all those different kind of things. Electric bikes, electric cars, everything's changing. All kinds of new models are popping up in terms of ways and means of people getting places. And, you know, I think about it myself. I've got a 21-year-old daughter and an 18-year-old daughter. It's unlikely that they'll actually own a car in the future. They won't need to, because there are different ways of getting around, and that has a dramatic effect for a car manufacturer. So that's what Ford was facing. And they did some research because they'd been doing things the same way for 110 years fundamentally. And their research said that people experience about, in-vehicle or mobility experiences about 900 hours per year. About 100 hours of those are sitting in traffic. But Ford and other car manufacturers, for that matter, were only touching their customers 4.5 hours on average. And that included going into the car showroom in the first place, buying a car, maybe going back in to get the car serviced, that kind of thing. Now, that's a disconnected customer experience. That's not a connected customer experience, that's disconnected. So Ford reset around the insight that a person's mobility is as unique as they are. And they set out to answer the challenge, how does Ford become your personalised partner for any journey, whether it's in a Ford or whether it's not? They developed a vision to build a personalised mobility solution on a platform that ingrains the customer experience beyond the vehicle and that allows continuous engagement in a way that adds value not only to owners but also non-owners, which I think is actually quite brave of them. So the platform became Ford Pass, and the proposition, a smarter way for me to move. All to help Ford transition from an automobile company to an automobile and mobility company, and to think totally differently about the kind of business they were in, which I think all of us need to do from time to time. Ford's vision of a connected customer experience, their vision of they call it a connected consumer experience, runs from their core business because, of course, they're still going to sell cars and trucks and do financing and all that kind of stuff, but through to all the emerging opportunities. They own a piece of a city bike in the United States now. They're doing experiments on e-bikes. They're playing around with car sharing and ride sharing and cutting up leases so that 6 people can own a lease on a car rather than just one person owning a lease on a car. All sorts of different things. I wanted to show you just a little video. Here's a demonstration of how Ford Pass works, and this is for a Ford owner. So as you saw from the video, Ford Pass intends to add value in all kinds of ways, from keeping tabs on your car's diagnostics if you own a Ford, to being able to access a guide and talk to a guide, not just Google, if you don't, and all other kinds of ways that they're going to add over time, with all kinds of partners built into the system as well to extend the value of what they're offering. The vision of a connected customer experience extends to retail too. With the new Ford Hub, this has just opened in the Westfield World Trade Center in New York. Magnificent, absolutely magnificent mall. Australians should be proud of that. And I love the mantra that Bill Ford has there on the outside of the store as you go in. He says, for 30 years I've worried about how we're going to sell more cars and trucks. Today I worry, what if all we ever do is sell more cars and trucks? So this is not a store about selling automobiles, it's about selling a vision of Ford's smart mobility, and they had people lined up out the door to get into the place. There are things like, this is a 3-metre digital screen at the front of the store. 300,000 commuters pass the store every day, and that gives you an instant snapshot of what's happening in terms of mobility in New York. Whether you're going to make your train or not, whether there's room on the Staten Island ferry, even down to how many bikes there are in the docking station outside. Further in, there's a 10-metre digital screen, which is built on a games engine which projects a vision of the future. And if you stand in front of that, up pops up little stories about the future in terms of mobility. And there's much more. There's games to teach about fuel conservation. There's a VR experience. And Ford also invites guests to contribute to an ongoing conversation about how you solve some of the world's problems to do with mobility. So it's a dialogue as well. So the whole concept is that Ford Pass and Ford Hub are more than just a shake of the car salesman's hand and see you again, mate, when you come in for a service. It's about enabling smarter ways to move for Ford owners and non-owners alike, a connected customer experience. I won't belabor this because I think you kind of get it anyway. Next, let's talk about Amazon, which will be a recurring theme over these 3 days, and it should be. Amazon also is not interested purely in traffic and transactions. It's not one and done and do it again. Amazon have built an entire ecosystem to encourage an ongoing relationship with their customers. And it keeps growing over time too. From the goods they buy, to the food they order, to the music they listen to the TV shows they watch. And at the core, the way they do it is through Amazon Prime. So Amazon Prime, they charge you $99 a year for membership, with the main benefit, the reason people sign on in the first place, is free 2-day shipping. But beyond that, a host of other benefits that they keep adding to. Now get this blew my mind. 44% of all US households right now, conservatively, are Amazon Prime members. 55 million US households are Amazon Prime members. I mean, there's only 9 million households in Australia, so that gives you an idea of how many. I'm one, and I buy everything. And as you get used to Amazon, you buy more and more. I buy everything from electronics to dental floss. The big sack of dog food that I used to go schlep to the pet store for, now Amazon brings to me at the touch of a button. Americans love it. As one customer said recently, I'm in a monogamous relationship with Amazon Prime. It's really interesting. One of the guys in the office said to me, the way that I used to feel about Apple is the way that I now feel about Amazon. I mean, people absolutely love it. And this shows where things are headed. This graph shows how Prime has overtaken Costco membership in the US and is rocketing ahead. The yellow line there is Amazon Prime membership, around 44%. Costco is around 34%, and Sam's Club is the other one there. This one will blow you away too, I think. 60 to 65% of US purchasing power is controlled by or influenced by Amazon. And you say, well, how can that be? The reason for that is Amazon is a search engine for a lot of people. That's where they start in terms of their product searches. When America shops, Amazon is the search engine they use. Amazon's winning because of an intense focus on what matters. Customer centricity, that's what they've been doing since they launched the company in 1995. And famously, as probably a lot of people in the room know, Jeff Bezos, always when he has meetings at Amazon Seattle, leaves one chair open for the most important person in the room, and that's the customer. They're also winning because they're forever working on new ways to reduce friction, that ease that I talked about before. They invented one-click ordering in September 1999, almost 20 years ago. That was absolutely breakthrough at that time. And they keep innovating. If 2-day delivery is not fast enough for you, and it's 1 day in the UK for that matter anyway, how about Prime Now? 1-hour delivery. Amazon Fresh, grocery shopping. I did some shopping on the way home from Seattle a year or so ago and asked that they delivered the next morning before breakfast, and there it was in climate-controlled bags sitting at the front door. Dash buttons, you see. I've got a Tide dash button on the front of our washing machine. When you run low on Tide, you push the button, away it comes. Virtual dash buttons they're going to now as well, which you can have in your apps or on your mobile. Dash wands. So you've got a grocery scanner sitting in your kitchen, which you can also use via your mobile phone. And this is actually one of the game changers, Amazon Echo. Get one, play with it, have a go with it. Voice shopping is definitely a thing, and it's actually incredibly important to Amazon. When I need new coffee pods now, I just say, Alexa, order me an espresso. And again, automatically it comes. And right now, you see bottom left there, they're training their customers to use Alexa. Get a $5 Amazon promo code when you reorder with Alexa, because they know that's one of the secrets of using this thing. It doesn't have a screen, but if you've ordered before, you can very easily reorder. They also know that homes with Amazon Echoes order 10% more on Amazon than homes without Echoes. And of course, there's Amazon Go. I visited and peeked in the window a couple of weeks ago in Seattle. I also wanted to show you, this only just came out last night. They've just opened 2 Amazon Fresh pickup stores in Seattle, exclusively for Prime members. Yet another added value that they're building on. I was at a conference a couple of weeks ago, and the ex-head of Walmart.com said to me, I thought this was really memorable. He said, forget moments of truth. You know, the A.G. Lafley thing about the first moment of truth and the second moment of truth, and Google that talk about the 0 moment of truth. Amazon is rolling out a perpetual moment of truth and shrinking the time between want and buy along the way. And that's about as leading edge as it can possibly get in terms of engaging, converting, and keeping customers loyal. Which brings me to a quick quiz question for you. What was the most successful launch of a new payment type in history in the US? I'll give you a clue. It wasn't Apple Pay. It wasn't PayPal. It was Starbucks. And another great case study in connected customer experiences. The most used mobile payment system in the US is Starbucks system. It was introduced over 6 years ago. And it works partially because it's simple. There's no RFID. You just scan a code, and away you go. And Middle America got it. And they got it in droves. They signed on in droves. So mobile payment is now 26% of all Starbucks in-store transactions in the US. That's how you hook a customer and you keep them. And Starbucks is built on the platform, so it extends beyond the store to ordering ahead, skipping the line, rewards, and now personalisation. So you can get up in the morning, they'll remind you that pumpkin latte's just launched, they know you like pumpkin latte, you can order ahead, walk in store, they'll recognise you, you can pay, earn your rewards, and get on your way. So they talk about the digital flywheel: payment, ordering, personalisation, rewards. Of course, Starbucks' success is not all mobile. It also does come down, as we talked about this morning, it comes down to place, people, and product. I think maybe the product side of things is a little bit questionable to Australian taste. But they did codify the idea of a third place between home and work, and they've taken that up a notch with Starbucks Reserve that some of you would have seen. And when it comes to people, I want to tell you a story. So I'm standing in Columbus Circle at a sandwich joint, and this woman standing at the counter looks over and she smiles at me. And I thought, oh, maybe my luck's changed. She said, you don't know me, do you? I said, no. She said, I'm the greeter at Starbucks. I know you. And she remembered me, and I actually don't even go in there that often. But the next day, I went in there, and she is awesome, and she makes that place light up. So that connected customer experience succeeds on both digital and human terms, which is ultimately, I think, what great retail's got to do in the future. So in the last couple of minutes, I wanted to look at some newer digitally based businesses which are epitomising the changing way that we connect. And their pure focus is on engaging, converting, and keeping customers through completely reinventing experiences, because they don't have the legacy ways of thinking and the legacy real estate and all that kind of stuff. All they want to do is to make it different and better. This one's really cool. This is the fastest growing wine club in America. They call it the Netflix of wine. And it's squarely aimed at millennials. So you order a tiny little tasting kit with like those little bottles that you get on planes. And there's half a dozen of them. They've got a little tasting mat. And you go through this internet-guided tasting experience, which gives you a personalised flavour profile. And before you know it, you're automatically getting these bottles of wine delivered to your place. It's really cool. Another one I really like in the automotive space is Book by Cadillac. So a traditional lease costs about $1,000 a month. Instead of that, with Book by Cadillac, you pay $1,500 a month. You can choose any car you want at any time, and you can change it any time. You know, compact during the week, that's fine. On your app, change it to an SUV on the weekend and they bring it to you. No questions asked. And you can stop anytime you want. There's no ongoing contract. In terms of more physical connected experiences, I love this one. This is Zoom Pizza. So when you order, this is in San Francisco, robots make the pizza and put it onto one of 56 ovens contained in the truck. Precisely 3 minutes and 15 seconds before the truck arrives at your location, the cloud automates the oven to go on, so you get fresh out of the oven pizza when it arrives at your door. Or Cafe X in San Francisco. I think that's right. Somebody was saying earlier, there's a place, in fact, Danny Latouf was, there's a place for both robot baristas, and this is robot baristas, no people at all, as well as people like Tanya that I showed you before. But this is order on your app, skip the line, turn up, coffee's made, go. Or Eatsa. This is a quinoa bowl company. They've got stores in both San Francisco and New York. No front of house staff at all, only kitchen hands. You order on your app or at a kiosk in store. It alerts you when it's ready. It goes into one of those little cubby holes with a transparent digital screen. You tap twice, take your bowl and go, and it's like $6.50 or something for a quinoa bowl. It's absolutely fantastic. So in summary, my premise today has been that to go beyond the honeymoon period, we've got to think about retail in a completely different way. We've got to go beyond that traffic to transactions, rinse and repeat, which is what we all did, I certainly did, for a million years. And instead, you need to think in terms of connected customer experiences that deliver on effectiveness, on ease, and on emotion. And you've got to forensically examine each one of those points along the way to find out what are your magic moments that are really going to turn the customer on. As we talked about today, you can look to a company like Ford, disrupting itself, not waiting to be disrupted, disrupting itself, responding to the changing way that we move. Amazon, which is an absolute game changer, and I think in terms of going beyond the honeymoon period and adding value to membership, is extraordinary. Starbucks, a simple mobile payment system that has locked their customers in for the long term to go beyond that honeymoon period. And you better believe when you've got money burning a hole on your mobile phone, you're going to use it. And all the different digital businesses. When you look at how your business works, don't look to the old models. Look to the new digital models and study the way that those guys are reinventing things. Thank you.